Good afternoon, I'm Bakhtiar Sanov and you are watching AnewZ. Let's see the top stories. Donald Trump says Russia and Ukraine agreed to immediate ceasefire talks. European leaders welcome the Pope's offer to host Russia-Ukraine talks at the Vatican. Israel lets aid into Gaza after an 11-week blockade, but the United Nations calls it a drop in ocean. U.S. President Donald Trump says he had a productive phone call with Russia's President Vladimir Putin about ending the war in Ukraine. The two-hour conversation was followed by a call with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump says Russia and Ukraine will now begin negotiations toward a ceasefire, though Moscow hasn't committed to one yet. Ubi Shvander from Washington, D.C. has more on that.
It was a 2-hour-long call between the American and Russian presidents to discuss ways on how to end the war in Ukraine. President Trump released a statement on Monday saying that he believed that his call with Russian leader Vladimir Putin went well. The president announced that Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations towards a ceasefire as part of a process to end the war that began with an all-out Russian invasion in 2022. Trump called the Russian war with Ukraine a catastrophic bloodbath that must come to an end. He believes that a peace deal and normalization of ties would also enable large-scale trade between Moscow and Washington that would benefit the ailing Russian economy. Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky after his call with Putin and pressed for immediate negotiations between Kyiv and the Kremlin. In a public statement, Vladimir Putin also sounded upbeat regarding the nature of his call with President Trump. Putin told the Russian media that his call was very informative, very open, and overall, very useful. The only new development for now is that Putin told Trump that he would work on a, quote, memorandum with Ukraine on future peace talks. Putin did not agree to any ceasefire to start those talks with Ukraine. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who was also on the call with President Trump and Zelensky, said afterwards that it's important that the United States stays engaged. Republicans in the U.S. Congress have told the Trump administration that they are ready to introduce new sanctions that would hit the Russian economy hard if the Russians do not prove serious in their negotiations. Western intelligence reports that in the last month, Russian forces in Ukraine have made increased tactical gains in the eastern part of the Donbass region. The Russian military is believed to have suffered over 950,000 casualties, including approximately 250,000 Russian soldiers killed in its war with Ukraine. Ubi Shvander, Washington, D.C., AnewZ.
Pope Leo XIV has offered the Vatican as a venue for peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. This initiative has received support from European and U.S. leaders. While the Vatican hasn't officially confirmed the offer to host the talks, the international community views this development as a hopeful step towards ending the conflict.
European and US leaders have expressed support for Pope Leo XIV's offer to host peace talks between Russia and Ukraine at the Vatican. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni confirmed that leaders, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, discussed the initiative with US President Donald Trump following his conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Pope, the first American-born pontiff, emphasized his commitment to global peace during his inaugural Mass, calling for a just and lasting peace. He later met with President Zelensky, marking his first known conversation with a foreign leader. US President Donald Trump said it would be great for Russia and Ukraine to hold ceasefire talks at the Vatican, saying it would add extra significance to the proceedings. Trump expressed confidence that both Russian and Ukrainian leaders are inclined towards resolution and noted that Putin has had enough.
Part of the Oval Office, the White House, big egos involved, but I think something's going to happen. And if it doesn't, I'd just back away and they're going to have to keep going. Again, this was a European situation. It should have remained a European situation. should have remained. But we have, because the past administration felt very strongly that we should be involved, and we got involved much more than Europe did in terms of the money. And my whole life is like deals, one big deal. And if I thought that President Putin did not want to get this over with, I wouldn't even be talking about.
While the Vatican has not officially confirmed the offer to host the talks, European leaders have welcomed the initiative. Prime Minister Meloni says that the Holy Father's willingness to host the talks at the Vatican was considered positive, and Italy is ready to facilitate contacts and work for peace. The proposal represents a significant diplomatic effort involving religious and political leaders aiming to address the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kiev and its partners are exploring a high-level peace summit with Russia, the United States, EU nations and the UK. He suggested the meeting could take place in Turkey, the Vatican or Switzerland. During calls with US President Donald Trump, Zelensky stressed the need for a ceasefire or more sanctions on Russia and to ensure no deals are made without Ukraine's involvement.
I had 2 phone calls with President Trump today in different formats. During the first call, we talked about what is very important for Ukraine, the ceasefire. We talked about these things in Istanbul and before that. The second topic we talked about is the readiness of the United States to make more serious sanction steps. I asked him to consider it and impose the sanctions if Russia does not support the ceasefire and doesn't want to end this war.
Following a 2-hour phone call between Presidents Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, the U.S. leader declared that ceasefire negotiations between Russia and Ukraine would begin immediately. Putin, for his part, is quoted as expressing willingness and readiness to draft a memorandum addressing issues such as the timing of the settlement and a possible temporary ceasefire. Joining us now is Enrique Cosero, a political analyst from Madrid, Spain. Mr. Cosero, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cosero, what has actually been discussed and agreed during this phone call?
Oh, it's hard to tell because we got no ceasefire, we got no agreement on the talks, we got no profiles on who is going to attend those talks. I mean, for 2 hours long phone conversation, I think this has been, and I'm completely out of the line on that, but I think this has been sort of Donald Trump trying to say to Vladimir Putin, it's time to do it. You can put your own conditions, and one of those probably is the fact that nobody but Zelensky and Putin are going to be on, or Russia and Ukraine are going to be on those talks. It's hard to understand. It's hard to get the fact that there is no further steps on some sort or ceasefire or peace agreement right now. But anyway, the things are right now. Donald Trump or whatever has empowered Vladimir Putin with that call, making Zelensky a person on the wait.
Mr. Cosero, U.S. officials have suggested that should no progress be made, Donald Trump may walk away. How committed is Washington at this point?
One of the things that I was pretty sure, even before Donald Trump was inaugurated as a president, was that for the United States, Europe is a European issue. And as I said, as he says right now, as I saw it on your TV program, he said, okay, Ukraine is Europe and this is a European issue. But here, Donald Trump is doing, I think, can appear as a smart hack, which is saying, okay, I was having this phone call. I've been talking with Vladimir Putin. I was talking with Vladimir Putin in this phone call about a ceasefire and a peace agreement in Ukraine, and I'm going to step out here. So as much as we know Donald Trump, as much as he did on tariffs, for example,
yes,
if it goes along, it's going to be his success. And if it's not, he's gonna have any sort of I tried. And just trying is going to be my success too. So he is in a position of finishing this thing in a win-win, because if the talks get along, it's going to be his success because he was there talking to Putin. And if it's not, I try it. I did it. So it's going to be my success too, right?
Mr. Cosero, the Vatican has been suggested as a possible host for future talks. Is it simply a question of venue, or would a Vatican format differ significantly from that of Istanbul?
I think that Leo XIV got from his very first day on the Peter's throne the will of getting a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and probably between Israel and Gaza and Hamas. But the thing here is that I see sort of a competition, probably not a willing competition, but a sort of competition between two American leaders, as much as they are Donald Trump and the Pope Leo XIV. At some point, I don't want it to think that 100%, but at some point, I see that the Pope is sort of a scapegoat for Donald Trump in order to, just do the meetings, do the talks, offer the Vatican, and if you get it, as I said, if you get it, the first step was mine, so I'm going to share the success. And if it doesn't go along with these two countries, okay, guy, you tried. So I see more honest to God, and sorry for the reference, but I see more honest to God willing in the Pope and the Vatican movement than in any other that I've seen right now.
Political analyst Enrique Cosero, thank you very much for talking to AnewZ. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Germany is working with allies on a new package of sanctions aimed at pressuring Russia to agree to a ceasefire in its war with Ukraine. That's according to Bloomberg. The EU is set to adopt its 17th sanctions package this week, targeting Russia's financial sector. The EU also plans to hit third-party banks helping Moscow's war effort. Whether the United States joins depends on the outcome of the call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Germany says the goal is to push Putin toward peace talks. The French government has announced plans to construct a new maximum security prison in French Guiana to house the most dangerous criminals deep in the Amazon jungle. The project is estimated to cost 400 million euros and is scheduled for completion by 2028.
France is building a new high-security prison, not in Europe, but deep in the Amazon rainforest. The 400 million euro facility is planned for French Guiana on the northeast coast of South America and is being designed to house drug traffickers and radicalized inmates. The announcement has angered many across French Guiana. Its remote location in the town of Saint-Laurent-du-Maroni and the historical echoes are raising deep concerns. The town was once the gateway to Devil's Island, the center of one of France's harshest penal colonies, where 70,000 convicts from mainland France were sent between 1852 and 1954. And now, the jungle is being called upon again for a prison designed to accommodate 500 inmates and 60 maximum security prisoners. French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin says the facility will tackle organized crime at its root. His intention, to prevent inmates from having any contact with their criminal networks. But for many in French Guiana, the plan carries echoes of the past and has reopened old wounds. Building a modern prison in a place once infamous for its penal colonies has raised questions about how much has really changed and what message France is sending to its overseas territories.
The United Nations is calling the latest humanitarian aid trucks for Gaza a drop in the ocean and urges for an urgent increase in assistance. It's after Israel allowed 9 vehicles to enter the Strip after an 11-week blockade.
After 11 weeks of total blockade, Israeli authorities have allowed limited humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. The United Nations has welcomed the step, but says the amount of aid permitted is far from enough.
Today, he said 9 of our trucks were clear to enter via the Karim Shalom crossing, but it is a drop in the ocean of what is urgently needed, and significantly more aid must be allowed into Gaza starting tomorrow morning. To say that this is a drop in the ocean is a clear understatement, right? Of course, 9 trucks is better than no trucks, but we need a massive uptick of humanitarian aid.
Responding to Israeli and US efforts to restructure aid mechanisms, the UN reaffirmed its position. The organisation's spokesperson emphasised that until a ceasefire is reached, priorities remain for aid deliveries and the release of hostages.
We need to get the hostages out. We understand there are discussions going on with the help of the mediators, with the help of the US, the help of Qatar, the help of Egypt, to get Israel and Hamas to agree. We need that to happen. In the meantime, we will continue to do our work proudly under very, very difficult circumstances, very dangerous circumstances. As I mentioned, 3 more of our colleagues were killed today, 2 of them on an airstrike in what had been an UNRWA school. But we do not need to bend on our principles on how we do our work.
The UN has always said that Gaza needs at least 500 trucks of aid and commercial goods every day. The World Food Programme says more than 116,000 metric tons of food, enough to feed 1 million people for up to 4 months, is standing ready to be brought in. However, it remains unclear how much aid would be allowed in and how it would be distributed. Since the Gaza aid blockade began on the 2nd of March, 57 children have reportedly died from the effects of malnutrition, according to the Ministry of Health. If the situation persists, nearly 71,000 children under the age of 5 are expected to be acutely malnourished over the next 11 months. UK, France and Canada call the current aid insufficient, urging Israel to lift restrictions. They also warn they will take further concrete actions if Tel Aviv doesn't allow assistance through. The warning comes as thousands of aid trucks wait at the Gaza border, surrounded by uncertainty of when they can be delivered.
A series of explosions have rocked Gaza early Tuesday morning, with multiple blasts visible and audible from southern Israel. Israel's military says it has conducted a wave of strikes on more than 670 Hamas targets in the Strip over the past week. It is part of a latest campaign called Operation Gideon's Chariots, with authorities saying they have killed dozens of fighters. Israeli strikes have killed more than 500 civilians in the past 8 days, with at least 40 people killed on Monday, according to local medical workers. Earlier, the Israeli military had ordered residents in Khan Yunis to evacuate ahead of what it says was going to be a major assault targeting Hamas infrastructure. Members of the World Health Organization have voted in favor of a potentially groundbreaking global treaty on improving pandemic preparedness. The 78th World Health Assembly opened in Geneva on Monday with calls for unity and cooperation.
A potentially groundbreaking global treaty on improving pandemic preparedness has been strongly voted in favor at the 78th World Health Assembly, which opened in Geneva. The agreement follows 3 years of difficult negotiations.
The first row in front of the podium.
124 countries voted in favor. It's after Slovakia called for a vote on Monday as its COVID-19 vaccine skeptic prime minister demanded that his country challenge the adoption of the agreement. No countries voted against it, while 11 countries, including Poland, Israel, Italy, Russia, Slovakia, and Iran, abstained. However, it will not formally come into effect until an annex on pathogen sharing is negotiated, which could take up to 2 years, after which states will have to ratify the accord. This agreement has been seen by many diplomats and analysts as a victory for a global cooperation at a time when multilateral organizations like the World Health Organization have been battered by sharp cuts in U.S. foreign funding. The World Health Organization Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, warns of a projected $1.7 billion budget shortfall over the next 2 years. He says this will be a significant challenge for the organization to fulfill its global health mandate. The Assembly will cover 75 agenda items, including health emergencies, financing, and the World Health Organization governance reform. Delegations from all 194 member states are attending the event, which runs until next Tuesday, to tackle global health issues.
Uzbekistan and the UK have taken a major step toward deepening bilateral ties. Foreign Minister Bakhtiyor Saidov met UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in London to discuss expanding cooperation in trade, investment, culture and global challenges. The two sides signed a cooperation program for 2025 to 2026, signaling a stronger strategic partnership. To unpack the significance of this meeting and what it means for both nations, we are joined by Nurbolat Nushambayev, an expert in international relations from Almaty, Kazakhstan. Mr. Nushambayev, thank you very much for joining our program.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Nushambayev, what is Uzbekistan's place within Britain's Central Asia policy?
Actually, not only Uzbekistan, but the whole Central Asian countries are taking very important role in global politics. In particular, the role of the United Kingdom, Britain, in the last few years in Uzbekistan was quite passive. But however, we have seen regarding the latest geopolitical tensions which is rising in Central Asia, we have seen new changes, in particular between UK, Britain and Uzbekistan. I think they have a great potential for the further collaboration, in particular in logistics and in economies. As far as we know, since the power transition in Uzbekistan had been opening towards the global world in terms of trade and all other spheres. So therefore, United Kingdom's presence in Uzbekistan, I think it will accelerate the relations between Europe and the whole Central Asia in the upcoming decades.
Mr. Nushambayev, how does this cooperation correspond with the broader Central Asia plus Britain framework?
Surely, in a couple of months ago, we have seen in Samarkand, Central Asia plus European Union summit. But here the most important aspect is to what extent differs United Kingdom's vision with the European Union. Most of the time, European Union countries, also UK, they see Central Asian countries as a place, alternative place to getting oil and gas, also mineral resources. So therefore, I think we shouldn't consider Uzbekistan relations besides the UK and the Central Asian relations. It will be within the framework of ceasefire plus UK, Britain. So therefore, definitely the linkages between the ceasefire plus one, it will work for the interest of Central Asia as well as for Uzbekistan as well.
Nurbolat Nushambayev, thank you very much for this discussion. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
After a successful edition held in Baku, AnewZ talks travel through the region. Today in Astana, Kazakhstan, we will be discussing the convergence of media and diplomacy. Our Katie Wilson has more details.
Good afternoon from the next stop of our tour of AnewZ Talks. We're here in the beautiful capital of Kazakhstan, Astana, in the stunning campus of Maksut Narakbayev University, as AnewZ and Jibek Jolly TV are bringing you the next episode of AnewZ Talks. Now, if you've watched our last episode in Baku, you'll remember that this is all about providing a platform for thought-provoking conversations and new ideas from both industry leaders and future leaders. Now today, joining our hosts Guy Sean and Kansaya Komet, we'll have leaders in the industries of AI, as well as PR and academics. But not only that, but we'll be joined by future leaders and young people, and we'll be providing a platform for dialogue, for new thoughts, new ideas, and we'll be discussing the changing media landscape in regards to diplomacy and how media is impacting the diplomatic world. So we all remember at the European Political Community Summit that viral AI video of leaders as babies. Now that's a perfect example of how social media is influencing these diplomatic forums. And what could that mean? What could the impact of that be? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today, and I'm going to be bringing you all of the latest from here in Astana, so stay tuned for AnewZ Talks.
The Azerbaijan National Agency for Mine Action has released its latest weekly report on demining operations conducted in areas liberated from occupation. From May 12th to 18th, mine and unexploded ordnance clearance operations were carried out in Tertar, Agdara, Kalbajar, Agdam, Kojali, Khankendi, Kojavend, Lachin, Shusha, Fizuli, Gubadli, Jabrail and Zangilan. During the operations, 36 anti-personnel mines, 23 anti-tank mines and 377 unexploded ordnances were neutralized. In total, more than 1,200 hectares of land were cleared. The agency says efforts to eliminate 9 mine threats and ensure safety in the region are ongoing. Landmines continue to pose a serious threat to communities long after conflicts have ended, putting lives at risk, blocking progress and slowing recovery. It's a reminder of the need for global support and teamwork to clear these deadly remnants of war and help affected communities move forward.
Landmines are silent traps hidden in the ground, widely used during conflicts due to their low cost, ease of deployment and long-lasting impact. The threat posed by landmines is severe and ongoing, with over 100 million people worldwide at risk. The United Nations Mine Action Service, UNMAS, has spent over 20 years addressing the needs of communities affected by explosive hazards, focusing on the safety of civilians, peacekeepers and humanitarians. Its work includes mine clearance, risk education and support for affected populations. Every year, thousands of people around the world fall victim to landmines. According to the United Nations, 1 person is either killed or injured by these devices every hour, with children being particularly at risk. This highlights the persistent danger landmines pose to civilians, even long after conflicts have ended. Azerbaijan, deeply affected by landmines due to the Karabakh conflict, is one of the countries that actively raise awareness about this issue. Since the conflict began, approximately 4,000 people have fallen victim to landmines. Even after the conflict ended in 2020, over 380 people have lost their lives due to landmines, underlining the ongoing risk. The country is still in the process of clearing landmines from its territory, and experts suggest it could take decades to complete this task. In addition to the human toll, landmines also have significant environmental consequences. Landmines make land and resources inaccessible, causing overuse of remaining areas and soil degradation. They also harm biodiversity by triggering explosions or leaking chemicals into soil and water. Efforts observed on International Mine Awareness Day have led to greater global focus and resources dedicated to mine action, saving lives and restoring communities. However, continued international collaboration is necessary to address widespread contamination. Sustained funding, technical expertise and cooperation are critical to ensuring the safety of affected populations and completing demining efforts.
A fire has broken out at a factory producing audio and visual systems in the Toroslar district of Mersin in Turkey. Emergency services, including medical teams, police and fire brigades, have been dispatched to the scene. Explosions were heard in some areas, leading to the suspension of traffic in the vicinity of the factory. Efforts to bring the fire under control are ongoing. The cause of the blaze is currently unknown. Turkey is preparing to launch a super high-speed train line between its capital Ankara and its largest city, Istanbul. The new line will slash travel time between the two cities to just 80 minutes. The project is part of a broader nationwide rail expansion and modernization effort. At a speed of 350 kilometers an hour, traveling by train in Turkey between Ankara and Istanbul is said to take 80 minutes in the future. A new super high-speed rail project has been announced by Turkey's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Abdülkadir Uraloğlu. He made the announcement at the National Turkish Student Union National Technology Academy program in Istanbul. The minister also detailed several large-scale railway initiatives underway across the country. He said that Turkey's rail network currently spans 13,900 kilometers and will grow to approximately 28,500 kilometers once all ongoing projects are completed. Among the major projects is the Northern Railway project, which is set to cross the Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge. Uraloğlu explained that the ministry plans to conduct a tender for this project within the year. The line will connect northern Istanbul with a new high-speed railway running from Sabiha Gökçen Airport to Istanbul Airport and onward to Çatalca. Turning to urban transit, the minister underscored the scale of investment in Istanbul's transportation infrastructure. He said around 162 kilometers of new rail systems have been added to the city so far, with another 26 kilometers currently under construction. Once completed, Istanbul's total rail system length is expected to reach between 380 and 400 kilometers. Looking back at the broader transformation in Turkey's transport sector over the past 23 years, Uraloğlu highlighted that the length of divided highways has increased from 6,100 kilometers to 29,700 kilometers, including motorways. The new initiatives he suggested are key steps toward enhancing connectivity, supporting economic growth, and easing daily commutes for millions across the country. That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to AnewZ.